Magandang araw. Ako si Kuya Code. Welcome back to my channel where I teach Python through fun and practical examples. Today we'll be diving into software design patterns. So in this video we're going to be talking about the decorator pattern. So the decorator is a structural design pattern that lets you attach new behaviors to objects by placing these objects inside a special wrapper object that contains the behaviors. So in this example code, this is an example that doesn't actually use the decorator pattern, and then you'll be able to see why the decorator pattern is useful. So in this example, we have a sword class. We also have a shield class, and we're going to have this Boolean method to toggle a fire enchantment, which once it's activated, we'll be able to have extra damage applied to our sword. And then in this case with the shield, when you raise the shield, it increases your defense. So this is a person class where you can pass in a sword and a shield object, and then you can just literally activate attacking or defending in that way. So this is just our code for using these classes. So we'll be able to type in 1 or 2 to toggle the extra fire damage or raising the shield, and then 3 and 4 just to attack or defend. So if we go ahead and run this, you can see that it's not active, and currently the raised shield is set to none. If we turn on 1, well actually before we turn it on, we'll just see what it does when you use them the way that it is now. So if we press 3 to attack, it does 10 damage, and if we press 4 to defend, it does 5 damage. Now we can turn these on, so press 1 to turn it on, press 2 to turn this one on. Now the fire damage is active, and then the shield is raised. So now if we press 3, instead of doing 10 damage, we're actually going to do 15. And then for the shield, instead of having 5 defense, we're going to have 10 defense. So this generally works pretty good. The only problem with that, though, is, um, this is just not very modular, because if you wanted to add a bunch of different things, it kind of makes it more complicated because, are we going to have every single possible sword enchantment inside of this class? And then if you add more in the future, you have to come back and edit it, and it's kind of messy. So it's definitely better to have these separated. So what we're going to do, um, well, first I'm going to show you normally what a decorator looks like, and then I can show you how we're going to make it, easier to add more in the future. So I'll replace my sword class with some code here. So what this code is, this is the same thing. This isn't actually going to be used, but then we have the actual decorator. So we have the @ symbol, and we have the name of the decorator itself, and it gets applied to this specific method. And the decorator, fire damage, comes from this. So rather than passing in a regular property into this method, we're actually passing in another method. So we take the damage, it's going to return damage, which is like say 10, like in the previous example, and then it's going to be called inside of the method, which is going to give us 5. But then the method itself is going to add in another 5, and then it's going to return the whole thing, which is the original damage 10 plus the additional 5. So if we were to do that, it should be the exact same. But now when we press 1, not 1, we'll press 3. So it does 15 damage even though it's not active, and then if we press 1 to toggle, it says active again for the fire damage, but if you press 3 again, it still says 15. The problem is that you can't actually turn this off or on. So because this is always active, you can't turn it off or on unless you have should we have like a second one that has the regular, and then you have one with the decorator, one with the other decorator, but then you need to have some logic to kind of figure out when you want to use one, and then when you want to use the other, and that gets complicated. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it a bit differently here. So first we're going to make a change to these sword and shield classes. We don't really need this anymore. And I'm going to have a abstract method for weapon and armor. That way they can be applied for any weapon and any piece of armor that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and import abstract. We're going to have our abstract methods. One is going to be for weapon, like I said, one is going to be for armor. Now we need to make the implementations of these, the concrete implementations, which of course is just going to be sword and shield, but we'll have to edit these. So we don't really need this because we already have that, and we don't need this. And the damage is fine. We don't need this decorator anymore. So we have our sword, which has to be a weapon type, and then the shield is going to be an armor type. So the sword is going to have damage, and then we can just return. We'll just hard code these for now, just because this isn't really the purpose of the example. So that's going to return 10. And then for the shield, we'll just have one called rating, because it's going to have a certain defense rating. And this is going to return 5, because these are the default values that we had previously. Okay, that looks good. And now we need our actual decorator classes as well. So we'll go ahead and copy these decorator classes in. So the weapon decorator is also from weapon, and then the armor decorator is also from armor. We can pass in the weapon that we want, and then we can just literally call the weapon, which will be the sword, and then it's just got to call this damage one, and then same thing with the armor decorator, it's got to call the rating one here. So this is kind of like just an extension or like a bridge between um, the actual specific type of weapon decorator and the sword class, which is, of course, coming from weapon. So now we're going to have a special type of weapon decorator, which we're going to continue to use the same example, which is the fire damage. So now this is a subclass of weapon decorator, and this is going to call this and then add 5. And then the same thing for the shield. When we this is going to call the previous one, which is right here, which comes from this, which is 10. So sorry, the shield is 5, and then it's just going to add 10. So this is going to be 15, and then this is also going to be 15 when you add these. So now what we need to do is actually use these. So let's just check this. So we have our weapon, we have our shield. These are going to be the exact same, which is fine. And then inside here we have sword, we have shield, we have person, that's fine. And what we're going to do when it comes to our main method here is we're going to make a list or a dictionary, sorry, a list of active enchantments, or a list of things that are actually activated. That way we can actually apply them. And then we're going to have a dictionary that has all of them available. That way when you activate one, you could just literally copy it into the list of active ones. That way we know which ones to have activated. And then when we turn it off, we can just remove it from the list. And then so that's what we're going to do. So we'll just write that now. So enchanted. This is our list of enchantments, which will be fire damage. And then available enchantments, this will be a dictionary. So we'll have the fire enchantment. And we're going to pass in the actual class name, so fire damage. So fire damage, again, is a specific weapon decorator that's going to apply 5 extra damage to any weapon that we're using. And then the good thing about doing this is that when you add more later on, like lightning or whatever, all you got to do is add it to the dictionary, and then you're good to go. And then we'll just do the same thing for the shield. So this will be called equipped, and then available equipment. This will be iron shield, and we'll pass in the iron shield decorator. Okay, that's good. And we don't need this anymore. We're going to do a little bit different. Let me just get rid of all of this. So we're going to have a method called toggle item, which is just going to add it to our enhancements list or our equipped list. Because like I said, if an item is inside of here, that means it's activated. And then if you deactivate it, then you just simply remove it from the list. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so like I just said, we pass in our list and we pass in the item, and then we either add it to the list or remove it to the list. And now for our menu, we'll just make a dictionary here. So these are all the options. So here's our toggle item method. We're passing in the list of enchantments, and then we're simply just passing in the one that we want. This is obviously based off of, this is the key for the dictionary for each specific one we're looking for. And these are just the other two options. And now, I guess I probably should have kept that while true, but let me just go ahead and do this. While true. We'll just copy what we had before. Okay, so while true, we'll enter our choice. So over 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the good thing about having this dictionary of items is that we can just do this. So let's say we put in 1 for activating this. Well, then 1 is going to be the choice. We're going to get the first item in our menu options, which is obviously this one. So this action is going to be this lambda function, which is a method. And then we just simply call the method, and then it's going to, call this, which is just going to be that. And then, the same thing for, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 for whichever one that we have. And of course, this is also a method, and this is also a method in the person class, which is this and that. And now what we can do is, let me scroll down here. Weapon equals sword, which is coming from this. And then we'll also have one for the shield. Armor equals shield. And then we can just kind of loop through the list that we would then have populated. Enchantment in enchantment equals weapon equals available. Oops. Okay, let me just move this a little bit. So this is going to be our list of active enhancements. So this is the one the list that we're referring to. So if you press 1 on the menu, it's going to add fire to the list, and then this will be populated with the fire, which is the fire damage decorator here. And then because this is a method, we're basically passing in the weapon into it, and then there's our weapon. And then we can do the same thing for the armor. So now we have that. You got 1 for the weapon, 1 for the armor. And again, this is going to be a weapon that has the enhancement that we passed into here. So imagine this is the regular weapon with nothing. We pass the weapon into this method, and it will increase the +5, and then it'll just return it and then overwrite it. So now weapon is now the weapon with an extra 5. And of course, if we had like 3 different, bonus or 3 different effects in here, it'll apply all of them to that. And if you have 3 of them that are 5 each, you'll have a total of 15. And then we can just basically take these new, enhanced weapons and armor, and we can just apply them to the person object. And that way, when we call 3 or 4, it'll call the person object weapon and shield method, and then you'll have sorry, not weapon and shield. It'll call attack and defend, and then you'll have the output like normal. So let's just go ahead and see. I probably have typos. Let me just see if I got the equals there, and let's go ahead and remove. Oh, it's because of the indent like that, I think. What else? Yeah, the indents sometimes are weird. Oh, I think this is, no, that should be fine. No, this goes here. Like that, and like that, and like this, and like this. All right, so now we'll do the default, which is 3 and 4. 4 has, let me just see, this is line 50. Shield has no attribute defense. Let me just check. So if that shield dot defense, that's should be rating, because shield, as you can see, has rating instead of defense. We'll do 3. That's 10. 4 is 5, which is exactly what we want. We'll activate the shield, or so we'll activate the fire damage. This is now active, and then we'll raise the shield by pressing 2. Oops, I pressed 3. Now press 2. Line 101. I had a typo in 101. Did I spell this wrong? I think I did. Let's try this for the third time. Third time's a charm, I guess. 1, 2. Right, now our shield is raised. Our fire is active. We'll press 3. And then that says 15, which is what we expect. And the shield should give us 15 as well. And it does give us 15. So that's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And of course, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. See you next time on Kuya Code. Paalam.